Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we're going to be using these potion bottles to create a card. We've got the stencil, we've got the stamp and the coordinating die as well. So with any of my layering stencils, what I like to do is work out what order they go in, get them all facing the right way, and then I just like to pop a number in the corner. I just use a Sharpie for this because obviously it is permanent, and then when I come to use it again, then I don't have to sit there and work out exactly which order I'm using these in and which way rounds they need to go. So I'm going to be ink blending through this. I really only care about the bottles. I don't care about any of the swirls or anything else that is around in this stencil. So the colours that I'm using are Peacock Feathers, Villainous Potion and Picked Raspberry. And then I'm going to bring in, I think it's Walnut Stain to do the tops, like the corks in the these bottles, which is stencil number 4. So you can see I'm literally just working my way through these stencils. They do have little etch marks, so you can line these up. Obviously you want to make sure that you get these lined up if you want to use the coordinating stamp and die as well. And again, you have all these extra little details on here that give it that kind of a spooky kind of background, that of course you can just leave it as this whole background piece. You don't need to do the stamping or the die cutting, or you can just do the stamping and just have it be a full background panel. So now you can see I'm just bringing in, like I said, I'm pretty sure it is that walnut stain. I wanted to go for quite a nice realistic top for this. So I'm going to add a little bit of a paste. So I am making sure that this is dry to begin with. So I'm just going to give it a quick blast with my heat tool. You can see I'm moving it really, really quickly just to make sure that those inks are nice and dry. And then I'm going to bring back in one of my stencils. This is stencil number 2. So I could have used 1, 2 or 3. I just went for number 2. And I'm bringing out some paste. So I haven't used anything like this for a good while. I brought these spatulas from the range. I think I showed them in a haul video at some point last year. This is the first time I'm getting around to using them. This is the Nuvo, I think it's like a glitter paste. I think this is the Moonstone. There really isn't a lot left in here at all. And I have been looking at the pastes a little bit, wanting just for something a little bit different to add onto my cards. So I literally just put the paste through the stencil with the spatula and then, yeah, just made sure they were covered. So we've got 4 of the bottles here. Is going to have that really nice sparkly top texture to it, but you can still see the colour underneath. So I'm going to just blast it really quickly with my heat tool, but I'm going to leave it to one side while we work on the rest of our card. So what I wanted this to look like, and I absolutely love how this came out, is I wanted to look like a shelf that had lots of bottles. So we are creating I didn't say at the beginning actually, this is part of a Valentine's Day series still. So I wanted to go with some like love potions. That's why I picked the colours I did. And I'm creating like a background with a shelf. So I cut a piece of brown cardstock. So this, I think it was like 3 inches or 2 3/4 inches tall, something like that. And I'm literally just scoring it at every 1/2 inch just to have a wooden paneling at the bottom of my card. And I'm going to use the other side of it. So this side here I'm going to use so you have that embossed detail standing up from the card. So that's going to be like my paneling at the bottom. We're going to have the shelf, and then we're going to create some really fun easy wallpaper to, you know, just to create the top of our card. So I just cut a piece of scrap of that same brown card. That's going to be my shelf where we're going to have our bottles on. And what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of detail onto this. Really, really easy. I'm just going to come in with that same blending brush, the same ink that we used for the corks for our bottles. And we're just going to add a little bit of shadow just to make it like stand out a bit more, just so it doesn't look so flat on our card. So you can see it's going to stand out really nicely. I do add a little bit more here. And I'm just using a scratch bit of paper just to catch all of that ink, just so I don't get ink on my mat and then it just ends up all over my card. And then I'm just taking some ink and just really lightly rubbing it up and down over my paneling, just to again add a little bit of depth, a little bit of interest to it, make it look maybe like it's a little more of a wood effect. A panel, if you've got an embossing folder, if you've got a stencil that'll give you that wood effect, you can absolutely use something like that for that extra little detail. But that's a really great way of just using your scoring tool to add just a little bit of decoration onto your cards. It's really, really easy to do. So now we're going to create the wallpaper. So I showed you this in my haul video. This is just a die plate. I've got, I think it was like an ocean color. It's like a cross between a teal and a turquoise. I don't know what you want to call it, but I thought this would work really nicely with those colours of the bottles and then with that wood as well. So I've run it through my die cutting machine. All the pieces came out really nicely, but I do just need to poke these out. So just while I'm doing that, I want to just take this opportunity to ask you, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button. It is free to do. And it really does just help to support my channel. If you like the video or you want me to create just more content, you want to show some support, then a thumbs up is a really, really easy way of doing that if you don't want to subscribe, which is absolutely fine. You know, it just really helps to get my content out there just a little bit more within that YouTube algorithm. So you can see I'm just poking these out, and then what we're going to do is just assemble our card. So I'm creating an A6 card here, but my size for A6 is slightly different. So I make my finished card sizes to be 4 inches by 5¾ inches, just because I find the math a lot easier. And really what I don't want to be doing is working out what my measurements are. I just want to get on and create. So you can see how this is going to look. We're going to have the wood effect paneling at the bottom, and then our wallpaper at the top. So you could use a patterned paper here, absolutely. But I've had this new die plate that I wanted to use, and what I really loved was then having this colour, whatever colour we're going to call it, and having that white of the card poking through underneath. You could put a different colour back there if you wanted to, but yeah, I just thought this made a really, really lovely wallpaper. It is something that I'd have in my house as well, and I really love it with that wood paneling. I just think it goes really nicely together. So I've added glue all over that, and I'm just going to stick that down, and you can see how this is coming together. You know, I just think it looks really, really fun. So now I've left my bottles on the side to completely dry, and I can go ahead and stamp the outlines for these. So you can see, you want to make sure that you keep your stenciling all lined up, so then you can come in and do your stamping and die cutting if that's what you're doing. You can leave the bottles as they are, but obviously it does finish it, because in some areas, you know, it's just white, but then by adding the stamp on top of it, then it is just going to give the bottles their necks. But I decided I'm really going all out on this card. I've said in a couple of videos before that I've become a little bit lazy with my card making. I'm looking for really quick and simple cards, but I really wanted to do lots of different things, lots of techniques on this card, just to kind of get back into using more of my products. So I decided to do a little bit of heat embossing as well. So I just ran over it with my anti-static powder tool. You want to make sure that everything is nice and dry, the ink and the paste is dry, because otherwise the embossing powder will stick to it. But using the anti-static powder will just stop that that powder from sticking anywhere you don't want it to. I did have a little bit stick to that paste. It was dry, but it did just naturally stick to it. So I just took a really small brush and then just brushed off any of that excess embossing powder. Yeah, and it worked perfectly fine. I made sure not to knock any of the embossing powder off of the actual bottle outlines. And then all you're going to do is just melt this with your heat tool. So gold embossing powder is like the best thing to watch melt. You're not going to be able to see it too much here just because it's quite thin lines. But basically what you're looking for is for that dull powder to melt and turn into a really nice, shiny, smooth finish. You want to make sure to have your heat tool really nice and hot. So just let it sit for a couple of seconds just to let it warm up. You'll find then that you'll have less warping on your cardstock. It won't blow away any of your embossing powder either. So you can just sort of let that sit. If you're doing big areas, let it sit and cool down. But I am going to die cut these bottles then with this coordinating die. So I'm just going to keep it in place with a little bit of tape here. And then I am going to run that through my die cutting machine. All die cut really, really lovely. So we're going to pop these out here. What I did realize at this point that I had 4 of each color in the different bottles, but actually I had no purples with the glitter on, which is fine. It's something, if you want to make sure that doesn't happen, then you can think about it beforehand. But yeah, I was okay with that, to be honest. And I did have leftovers as well. I think I used 5 bottles on this card. So I've got some that I've popped back in with the stamp and the die set, and I can use those on another project. So I was looking for a sentiment. Like I said, I was going for a like love potions, love bottles kind of theme. But I did find this older stamp set from Clearly Besotted. It's something to do with chemistry. I can't 100% remember, but it was from their Valentine's launch, and it says all you need is love and a little chemistry. I could have just done like Happy Valentine's Day or something, but I kind of wanted to go in with a theme. I really wanted to add one of those critters onto my card as well, but just the perspective of everything, how big, you know, the card is with the wall and then the bottles, the critter was just way too small to add onto here. But it would have worked really nicely because they had little bottles on there as well. So I stamped my sentiment, and it did stamp really easily over that embossing of that paneling as well. I just added my shelf just to hide the gap in between the paneling and that wallpaper, and then just added those on with some foam. And then I'm just simply going to glue my bottles onto here. So I've picked a couple different sizes. We've got all of the 3 colours, but then I do end it with just 1 purple and then 2 of the pink and 2 of the blue ones as well, just because I really wanted to get in some of those ones which had that paste on there, obviously because I took the time to actually ink these ones up. But I do have a couple left over, as well as you can see to the side there, as well as some of those other bottles as well, like I said, to use on another project. So I added them all flat as well, and I realized then that this last one doesn't have a cork. So I did think about then trying to cut one of the corks off of the other bottles, but I decided to come in with some Nuvo drops. So I got a nice pink here, it's a metallic one. I tried to sort of practice doing a swirl to see if I could make that look good. I felt like I couldn't really do that, and I didn't want to ruin the card because I really loved it. So I just added some Nuvo drops on here as if the cork is out and you have just kind of some bubbles coming out of that bottle. So that's my finished card. I really love how this turned out. Lots going on in this card, certainly from a lot of the cards that I've made recently. So I really did enjoy using the paste, the embossing powder, the Nuvo drops, sort of doing some scoring, doing some die cutting. It was really a lot of fun. So if you did enjoy this video and you like this card, please give it a big thumbs up. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. So that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching, and happy crafting.